Well, good, look, I suppose maybe the title might be a bit misleading or whatever, the Prohibition of Sulky-Racing 2018. As you know, I introduced this bill back in 2018, a similar piece of legislation, in an effort to bring together different communities. You know, the horse is a wonderful animal, and I'm glad to see Deputy Jane O'Kenny here, because I know he's an interest in these projects as well. And I want to say at the outset, as a Buckalog and a young boy and a young man, I worked with a horse on the farm and drew the water, and we covered the spuds and whatever. So I do like horses, and we in Tipperary have a wonderful record of the horse racing industry, and indeed, you know, of all different types, in the flats and show jumping, and indeed with great prowess and great engagement. I also want to say that I have been engaged with, I was involved in the Traveller Bell Top Wagon, a wonderful project that I was involved in when I was in the VEC and Carhill of the Adult Education Board. Fabulous project. So I'm interested in working with all peoples and none, and try and have a safe situation for sulky racing and sulky trotting to take place. And indeed, I know in my own area, quite a parish next door to me, Ballybacon, I know a good few gentlemen there who have their pony and little sulky and do pleasure runs. But it's the racing on public roads, and where no licence is granted is what I'm trying to avoid, and try and work with people to see. And I thank the people that contacted me today, many of them from all over the country, who have sulkies, and sent me the most splendid photographs and evidence of their sulky, of their ponies, and their trailers, or the cats, or whatever they want to call them, and have engaged. And are anxious to meet me, even tomorrow, to see if we could work together. I believe in Atli Curl Kayla, and you know, it's no point in having division, have engagement. And I have approached Horse Racing Ireland, and I have approached, you know, the different tracks, some of them, to see if there could be a shared usage of facilities and have this sport carried on safely and well authorised policely, and maybe charities could benefit from it. I also want to salute Jonathan Irwin of the Jack and Jill fame. You might most know him, but he was very involved, and I was involved with him, and held a seminar in, Deputy Kenny was at as well, a seminar in the AV room some years ago about the prisoner horse project in the prison in the West, Castlereagh. And I spoke to Jonathan today, and thankfully the 10 stables are finished under one roof, but because of COVID, it hasn't been engaged in yet. So I look forward to that project being rolled out, and helping people to, you know, continue their love of their animals and their friendship. And as you know, the animals can be very therapeutic for people, and we see that with dogs and everything, as regards, you know, people with autism or whatever. And so we know things now we didn't know before. So look, that's just as a forward. The bill has one simple aim, and this is to prohibit sulky road racing where, and I emphasise where, no lawful permission has been granted. The primary motivation behind the bill is to address the growing health and safety and welfare concerns for the public, but also for the horses and young passengers concerned a lot of times. The bill does not impact upon off-road sulky racing in any shape, make or form. Sulky road racing, in which children as young as 10 hitch horses or ponies to lightweight carts and race them down busy motorways, or indeed national primary roads, or indeed primary or tertiary roads, is an extremely dangerous activity. The activity is also brutal, cruel to the health and welfare of the animals concerned. And I know that from people contacting me, but I know it from the vets who have been called to the scene. And it's their evidence I'm going on, not mine. I'm not expert in a horse, you know, the body parts and especially the legs, and I wouldn't be qualified to deal with that. As I said, the horses are often raced, as I said, for far too young an age to be ridden, and that is a problem. And the gentleman I spoke to today said yes, they acknowledge that there's rogue elements in it, and it's not right. And the young age and a higher risk of torn ligaments, broken bones, or other serious injuries. They rarely have proper shoes or tack, and their riders usually have no permits or indeed insurance, meaning that any horses wounded during the races are likely to be killed on site. And you know what? There is legislation where the horses have to have it be microchipped and have to be, you know, have a license and permit and everything else. But look, that's another issue. For that matter, there are usually moving vehicles on the same road at the same time as the sulky races, putting motorists, pedestrians and sulky riders and the animals themselves in grave danger. And that's the worry. In fact, yet again, recent footage, a copy which I attached today, of a race involving two trotting ponies drawing sulkies, has shocked a lot of the Irish public. The tragic case which led to the death in February 16 in Clondalkin of a young boy, just 12, when he was thrown under a truck after being involved in a sulky accident, has been a motivating factor for me in bringing this bill before the House. In fact, that young boy Sean's own family have said that they hope stronger regulations can prevent future loss, and that's very magnanimous of them. Thus, the bill essentially seeks to address some of the deficiencies in the existing law. Currently, it is almost exclusively a matter for local authority bylaws to address this issue. This is creating to a complete lack of consistent approach. And for example, counties, my own county, Tipperdown, Kilkenny, Limerick and Waterford all have different bylaws. And I had an interesting engagement today with the Minister of State from Kilkenny, the Green man today. When he was in the council, his name just eludes me, when he was in the council in Kilkenny, they made huge efforts to get this off-road onto tracks, and nearly got it over the line, but unfortunately it fell at the final furlong of the last fence, which is a pity. And indeed, I thank him for his sharing his experience with me. So, local authority bylaws have proven completely insufficient to sufficiently address the issue with this bill, aiming to implement a more holistic, national and cohesive approach to regulation for the area. That's what I want. I'm not a killjoy. I'm not anti-sport or anti-horse, but health and safety is a primary reason. The main elements of the bill include Section 1 of the bill set out to the remit of or meaning of the sulky racing under the bill to be the racing of horses drawn vehicles on any road under local authority jurisdiction. Section 2 of the bill provides that a person shall not organise or cause or permit to take place any performance involving A. Sulky racing, B. Riding or attempting to ride an animal which, by the use of any appliance horse, a horse-drawn carriage is or has been stimulated with the intention of making it a race, or indeed C. Any other activity that may cause unnecessary suffering to an animal and is prohibited by animal health and welfare regulations, and that's very important. And I'd like to thank former Ear Hanador, Rena O'Donnell in my office, our office, for helping with this, and indeed David Mullins for helping me draft this bill as well. Section 3 of the bill sets out that responsibilities for local authorities. The bill grants local authorities all the powers necessary to enforce the law. Section CAR of the bill provides that offences or penalties under for non-compliance, those found in breach of the law could a potential maximum fine up to and including €5,000 or a term of imprisonment not exceeding 6 months. Section 5 of the bill outlines the administrative steps to be followed around proceedings and sanctions, including the provision of fixed penalties. Therefore, it is hoped that you will, my colleagues will be minded to supporting this legislation, which ultimately aims to find a national formula to address this serious ongoing issue before any other fatalities or indeed tragedy occurs. And I look forward to constructive debates. And that's my motivation. And indeed, I sincerely hope that people will, and I'm not saying this bill is perfect or anything like it, it's an effort to be put in, and I don't know what the government are doing on it, but whether they're opposing it, are going to accept it, and it's open completely to be amended and changed and recreated as a proper, meaningful piece of legislation that will deal with this very concerning issue. Because there's not a day goes by, literally, in the summertime especially, that I don't, and wintertime, I get calls, and my office gets calls from all over the country, but certainly from Munster, that there are incidents of women going home from work or going to work and being forced off the road. And indeed, the people I spoke to this evening from Galway about the racing, they are adamant that we work together, and to have these races permitted on a legal position, occasionally, and once or twice a month or whatever, and have no attending cars or vans driving video them. That's the inherent danger altogether. When there's a whole wave coming at you of maybe 3 or 4 sulkies across the road, and several cars and vans right behind them and pushing them on, and nobody on the road has anywhere to go. A pregnant woman, come from work in Limerick some time ago, was forced off the road upside down, a pregnant woman in a field. And that's not right. I have countless experiences of where cars have been damaged, and the sulkies in many cases haven't even stopped and kept going. And that's not fair to hard-pressed taxpayers who are paid their tax and insurance and want to be on the road. And as I said, I've seen recently it taking place in the fog, dangerous fog. I've seen it taking place in frosty weather where it couldn't be safe with slippery road. And, we must just try and work together to try and find a permanent solution. And indeed, as I said, I mentioned the horse project I was involved in myself, the Belltop Wagon project, and I also mentioned the horse project that's taking place in the prison. And I salute the prison services, and I hope this Minister for Justice now continues to support it, because that is very badly needed, and as I said, it's very therapeutic. But from the point of view of cruelty, and that it has to be stamped out. With the animal rescues then, who do tremendous work in Tipperary and all over the country, the Daisha, the Anne Williamson, and indeed in Crappanagrawn and Mullinahone, and the others. And the department officials who are called out. And indeed, we have incidents every year quite close to me at home where the large number of horses are kept on land at Knockcrofty, and there have been horrific experiences there. And that's not to do with Sulky-Racing, they're wintered there, and it's just not right. It's sad, and people are very hurt, and they're very challenged by it. And indeed, I want to pay tribute to now deceased Garda Sergeant Niall O'Halloran, who was our local community Garda. He had made gallant efforts to try and deal with this situation and try and deal with it, because many people's properties are being trespassed as well by those horses. When they're hungry, you can't blame the horses. They haven't enough of fodder or feed, so the regulations need to be tightened up across the sector here, Department of Agriculture, on Garda Síochána and local authority. And in the UK, I understand that they have a dedicated police outfit to deal with it, because it's so dangerous, and it's and it could be enjoyed by many and all if it was off-road and or occasionally on-road with permits. And indeed, in France, it's a very lucrative industry, and lots of money is made for the coffers of the French finance minister from the proceeds and the betting taxes and everything else. So it can be done. We must look at best practice throughout Europe. We must look at best practice, internationally. And indeed, the harness, I think that Deputy Kinnear knows, the harness people, they have a different setup, and they're on tracks, and they're organised, and I don't get any complaints about it, or other deputies don't. I'm not saying I'm getting all the complaints, but I'm getting a lot of them. So we can look at best international practice. We can try and have better regulations, but I'm for the carrot and stick. Try to bring the people with us and try and ensure that both, in the first instance, the riders, whether they be young, and some of them are very quite young, and also the horses, and above all, the general public who are cycling, pedestrians, with buggies, pushing buggies, or indeed running on the road or driving. We're all entitled to share the same space, and we must share the same space at the best of our ability. But safety has to be paramount. And indeed, injuries like this are just quite horrific when we've seen them. And the potential for more injuries and worse is still out there. So, as I said, it's a humble effort on my part to try and address this serious issue. And indeed, I look forward to hearing the views of the other, the views of the Minister first, and indeed the other talk to Dáil that are interested in this as well, because, as I said, we need to deal with this issue once and for all, and an effort to start enacting legislation to make it safer for everyone, and roads health and safety. Because people say to me, and they're appalled, and rightly so, they're not appalled, but you have to have a child in a car restrained, and rightly so. 20, 30 years ago it was different, but they're the laws now. And then they see young children literally hanging off these, and they worry and they're fearful for someone to fall off them or whatever. And again, this time of year, winter, the days are so short, there's no, normally never any, fluorescent jackets or fluorescent lights at the back of them or whatever. So we must try and work it out and try and proceed together on this. And I'm willing to meet those representatives in the coming days and weeks and in the new year and try and work with them to have it a better situation, regulated or more regulated certainly, and have less chances for major incidents or accidents or even death.